Hey everyone, welcome back to some more Red Alert 1 Remastered. So, yeah, Soviet aftermath missions. Let's go! Our spy has informed us of a new technology the Allied forces are developing. Stalin wishes to acquire it. Use Volkov to steal this prototype vehicle and make sure they will not be able to reproduce it. Destroy the production facility after stealing the plans for the vehicle, and then bring Stalin his new toy. Do not fail us.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's Volkov again.
Reinforcements have arrived.
And Chitskoid,
Ready
good
and
boy.
wait. Read. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative.
Is Volkov as OP this time as he was
Yes, sir. Very well.
last time I used it?
At once.
Let's find out.
Very well. Yes, sir. Agreed. Yes, sir. Agreed. Agreed. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Agreed. Reporting. At once. Yes, sir. At once. Very well. Yes, sir.
So,
Reporting. Agreed. Reporting. At once. Affirmative.
no
Affirmative.
pointers or tips on where to find
Ready
this
and waiting.
technology though.
Affirmative. 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 Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Agreed. Acknowledged. At once. Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative.
So the
Ready and
shroud
waiting
seems to
orders.
be growing.
Of course. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative.
I'm guessing I have to
Agreed.
find these computer terminals.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Very well. At once. Affirmative. At once.
There's no timer?
Yes, sir. At once. Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative.
Wow, that
Waiting
boy can
orders.
jump.
At once. At once.
So something is happening when I
Very well.
engage these terminals.
Very well.
That's where I started, I think.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Ready and waiting. At once. Affirmative.
Okay, so we got some prisoners down here.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Very well. Affirmative. Very well. At once. Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. At once. Yes, sir. Of course. Affirmative. Very well.
Okay, so he's not invulnerable,
At once.
and his
Yes,
gun
sir.
doesn't seem to
Reporting. Very well.
like
Agreed.
do as much damage
Ready
against
and waiting. Affirmative.
structures and
Agreed.
vehicles
Very
as
well.
last time.
Affirmative. At once. Ready and waiting. Waiting orders. Agreed. Agreed. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Reporting. Agreed. Yes, sir. Very well. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting, sir. Reporting.
So he's not as OP as last time,
Yes, sir. At once.
because he's taking quite a bit of damage.
Ready and waiting. Affirmative.
Last
Acknowledged.
Volkov mission, he had this like crazy gun that would just demolish vehicles and structures and
Reporting. Affirmative.
everything.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Agreed. Ready and wait. Agreed.
Was that the turret?
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Ah, he's recovering his
Ready and
health.
waiting.
That's cool.
Reporting. Very well.
It's... Okay, so power is back
Yes, sir,
online.
at once. Yes, sir. Very well. Yes, sir. At once.
See if the pillbox is still here. No.
Very well.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
At once. Affirmative. Reporting quarters. Yes, sir. Reporting affirmative. Very well. Acknowledged. Agreed. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Ready and waiting. At once. Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes, sir. At once. At once. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Very well. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well.
So, I was not able to save these guys.
Yes,
Too
sir.
bad.
Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Ready and waiting.
Now, let's see if we can find these plans.
Acknowledged. Agreed. Awaiting
I assume
orders.
maybe I had to turn off the power.
Affirmative.
Like, yeah,
Agreed.
before going in here.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Or rather, I had to get in there and save those
Reporting
guys
very well.
before the power came back on.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting at once. Agreed. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Oh,
Acknowledged. Affirmative. At once. Agreed. At once.
so that's not the way.
Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Well, I lost the
Affirmative.
dog, that's too bad.
Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Very well. Yes, sir. Very well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very well. Agreed. Affirmative. At once. Very well. Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. At once. At once. Affirmative.
So he does have a slight range advantage over
Affirmative.
the regular rifle infantry,
At
but
once.
not much.
Very well. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Agreed. Affirmative. Very well. Very well.
Professor Einstein,
Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative.
good night, sir.
Agreed. At once. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative.
Okay, so now we have a timer.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Was that a good thing I did that, or was it not?
Very well.
I don't know.
Affirmative. 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 Of course. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well.
Well, that's not the way.
Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative.
45 minutes.
Very well.
That's
Affirmative.
plenty of time, I hope.
Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Very well.
I did use this before, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. Very well. At once. Affirmative. At once. Yes, sir. Very well. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Yes, sir. Very well. Yes, sir.
Got more computers here.
Yes, sir. Agreed.
Okay, that's
Very well.
where I steal the plans.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Of course. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Agreed. Of course. Yes, sir. Agreed. Affirmative.
As long as I can just keep
Affirmative.
engaging these guys one at a time.
At once. Yes, sir. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Reporting. Agreed. At once.
Okay, so that's part 1 done. Let's do a save.
Mission saved.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Affirmative.
And these turrets are gone.
Affirmative. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative.
So is that all?
At once.
I just have to go down and destroy the facility now?
Very well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
40 minutes
At once.
remaining.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Has to be some more up here.
Affirmative. Agreed.
There's still a lot of the map I have not
At once.
explored.
Affirmative. Agreed. At once. Agreed. At once. Affirmative. At once. Agreed.
No,
Very
that's where I turned off the power.
At once. Affirmative.
Was it?
Very well. Very well. Affirmative.
Yeah, no, this is where I started.
At once. Affirmative. Affirmative.
But what about this part of the map? Like, what's beyond here?
Affirmative. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Very well. Yes, sir. At once. At once. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Very well. At once.
Good thing those medium tanks are not active.
Very well. Affirmative. Very well. Very well. Very well. Of course. Yes, sir. Very well. At once. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Agreed.
So I'm supposed to get in here?
Mission saved.
Agreed.
Or just destroy it?
Very well.
Like, I can enter it, so
Agreed.
I'm guessing there's a purpose to that.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Okay, so I did actually steal the vehicle.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Aha.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
And then I'm guessing I'm going in here.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
We are fighting tanks now.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
This is not going too well.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Well, I had one
Affirmative.
more heal crate.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Mission failed.
That's not good. I was gonna click load. Darn it.
Mission loaded.
Affirmative. At once. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
I wanna see where those reinforcements
Affirmative.
come.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Okay, so that's the exit.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Report. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
See what I can do with this nuke truck.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Acknowledged.
So the stolen prototype tank seemed pretty good, but not good enough to fight 3 tanks and a mechanic on its own.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Will I get more reinforcements?
Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Let's try this.
Mission saved.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
The lousy prototype.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Mission loaded.
So I have to get direct hits.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Even then it doesn't do much.
Acknowledged.
Mission loaded.
Acknowledged.
So it seems very random how much
Affirmative.
damage it does
Affirmative.
with its missiles.
Acknowledged.
Never told you to go there.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
So now maybe I can just give these guys the slip.
Acknowledged.
30 minutes remaining.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Hopefully these guys will not activate.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
I don't know why Stalin wanted this prototype. It's not that good.
Affirmative.
Oh,
Acknowledged.
bollocks.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Can I run them over?
Acknowledged.
Let's try get some more use out of those nuke trucks.
Mission loaded.
Affirmative. At once. Agreed.
get this
Affirmative.
terminal first.
Affirmative.
If I'd kept the dog alive.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Don't be so useless. Come on.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
It's actually
Acknowledged.
completely useless.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Okay, it arrived, but... Come on! It arrived, but it drove off map.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. No problem. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Okay, I'm gonna load because I lost one of the nuke trucks to a bug.
Mission loaded.
Affirmative. At once. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well. At once. Very well.
Then I'm gonna try to fight some infantry using Volkov
At once.
before I steal the tank.
Agreed. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Agreed.
Because I should have plenty of time.
Agreed. Affirmative. At once. Very well. Very well. Very well. Very well. Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative. At once. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 At once. Affirmative. 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 At once. At once. Affirmative.
Alright.
Very well.
to make it easier for the nuke trucks to take out the tanks.
Affirmative. 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 At once.
30 minutes, that's still plenty of time.
Acknowledged. 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 Acknowledged.
Okay, and here come the tanks.
"30 minutes remaining. Mission saved.
Now let's wait for the nuke trucks.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
See, it was gonna go off map again, but I was able to select it before it disappeared.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative.
That guy.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Awaiting affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Let's see how this goes.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Can you just keep to one target?
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Well, it's not gonna go. One nuke was not enough.
Mission loaded. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
I might have to reload and try to kill more infantry using Volkov.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
This
Acknowledged.
is if this doesn't work, then
Affirmative.
might work.
Affirmative.
Good first shot.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Nope. Guess I have to go. Do I have to go all the way back here? No. This might work.
Mission loaded.
Affirmative.
So yeah, let's not steal the tank just yet.
At once. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Okay, that's the pillbox gone.
Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well. At once. Very well. At once. Agreed. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Agreed. Agreed. Affirmative. At once. Very well. Very well. Very well. Very well. At once. Very well. At once.
And yeah, it seems I have to take out all this infantry
Affirmative. Affirmative.
in order for my nuke trucks to work.
Affirmative. 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 At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well.
Regen some health.
Affirmative. 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 At once. At once. Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. At once. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. At once. Very well.
Okay, so no
Very
more
well.
infantry here.
Affirmative. At once. At once. Affirmative. Very well.
Those three-man patrols are going to keep coming as long as Volkov is
At
alive.
once. At once. Very well. Very
Think.
well. Agreed. Affirmative.
But I can't have them standing around there because they're going to block the nuke truck.
Affirmative. Agreed. At once. Affirmative.
30 minutes remaining.
Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Very well. Affirmative.
So I gotta get them closer.
Affirmative. Very well.
So I can just kill them quickly and then go steal the tank.
Very well. Agreed. Very well. Affirmative. Of course. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Very well.
Alright.
Agreed. Agreed.
Oh no.
At once. Very well. Agreed. Affirmative.
Well, I do not want them to stand there. As soon as they move on, I'm gonna steal the tank. I want them to get here.
Agreed.
Alright. Cool. Now they're gonna get caught in the blast.
Mission
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
This might just work.
Time for a little five-finger discount.
battle control terminated. Training. Training
Oh, Jesus.
complete. Reinforcements have arrived.
Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Thought it'd gone.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Gosh darn it.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yeah, this is not gonna work.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. At once.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Ready and wait. Agreed. Affirmative.
Gonna keep the dog alive.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Reporting. At once. Very well. At once. Agreed. Affirmative. Agreed. Agreed. At once. Agreed. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Reporting. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. At once. Yes, sir? Of course. Of course. Affirmative. Very well. At once. Yes, sir? Affirmative. 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 Agreed. 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 Of course. Affirmative.
So that's the terminal to shut off the
Yes,
power.
sir? Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Which I think I will need to save those guys.
At once. Reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. At once. Yes, sir. At once. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Reporting. At once. Affirmative. Very well. At once. At once.
So 5 minutes.
Very well. Very well. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Ready and wait. Agreed. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative. Report agreed. Awaiting orders. Very well. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Ready and affirmative. Affirmative. Very
So
well.
gotta destroy that thing.
At once. Reporting. Report agreed. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Affirmative. Reporting. Agreed. 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 Yes, sir. Very well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Agreed. Affirmative.
I think that's the right control.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Agreed. Acknowledged. At once. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Reporting. At once. At once. Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. At once.
Yep.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Agreed. Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Very well. At once. Very well. Affirmative. At once. At once. Affirmative.
Oh no,
Waiting orders. Affirmative.
that was not the right one.
Yes, sir. At once. Ready and waiting. Very well. Yes, sir. Reporting. Agreed.
Well, that's too bad.
Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once.
So I wonder what turning off the
At
power
once.
does.
Affirmative. At once. Agreed. 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 At once. Agreed. Agreed. At once. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. At once. Ready and waiting. Very well. Yes, sir. Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. At once. Very well. Reporting. At once. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Agreed. Awaiting affirmative. At once. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Scientist.
At once. Yes, sir. At once. Very well. Affirmative. 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 Yes, sir. Very well.
Okay, so we have a 45-minute timer.
Ready and waiting. Very well. Yes, sir. Very well. At once. Reporting. Agreed. Reporting. Agreed.
Oh, you...
Unit lost.
Oh. Why did it have to auto-attack there?
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. At once.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Ready and waiting. Agreed. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Of course. Affirmative. At
Not gonna
once.
bother
Very
turning
well.
off the power. Doesn't seem to do anything,
At once.
I think.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Agreed. Agreed. At once. Agreed. Reporting. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
But I can go this way and
Reporting.
deactivate
Agreed.
that turret, I think.
Agreed. Agreed. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Very well. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. 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 Reporting
Up.
once. Awaiting affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Reporting. Affirmative. At once. Very well.
Maybe I
Reporting.
need to turn off the power to deactivate that turret?
At once.
No.
At once. Yes, sir. Very well. At once. Very well. Very well. Agreed. Affirmative. 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 Agreed.
So what does even turning off the power do other than making me disoriented?
At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well. Very well. Agreed. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Reporting. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well. Agreed. Agreed. At once. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. At once. Yes, sir. Agreed. Very well. Yes, sir. At once. Waiting orders. Affirmative. Report. Agreed. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Agreed. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Of course. Affirmative. At once. At once. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. At once.
So where did I steal those plans? Was that in the upper right corner?
Agreed. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative.
Mission saved.
Ready and
That.
ready well. Reporting. Very well. Affirmative.
Yeah, I have to find something to
At once.
blow up that turret.
Awaiting orders. Reporting. Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Report. Affirmative. Very well. Agreed. Agreed. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Okay, so we have power again.
At once. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Here's where you like make stuff blow up.
Ready and wait. Agreed.
The meltdown
Agreed.
room.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. At once.
Not gonna do that
Affirmative.
just yet.
Affirmative. At once. Very well. Very well. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Something blew up.
Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Okay, that's a heal crate.
Agreed.
Gonna save that for later.
Affirmative. At once. Very well. Affirmative.
That was probably the turret up in the corner.
Affirmative. At once. At once. Agreed. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. At once.
And that's the exit.
Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. At once. Agreed. At once. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Affirmative. Reporting. Very well. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
No.
Agreed.
Well, that's still active.
Awaiting affirmative. Very well. Acknowledged. Affirmative. At once. Very well. Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. At once.
This is where I came from, I think.
Agreed. Affirmative.
But it's hard to tell because turning off the
Affirmative.
power made all the shroud regrow.
Affirmative. At once. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Agreed. Affirmative. Reporting. Very well. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Agreed. Reporting. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Reporting.
Yeah,
Very
that's
well.
where I turned off the power.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well.
Did I do
Affirmative.
anything here?
Affirmative. 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 Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Agreed. Awaiting orders.
Probably
Affirmative.
did something.
Yes, sir. Very well.
Aha!
Affirmative. Very well.
That's the one I was missing.
Affirmative.
I knew there was a terminal somewhere.
Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well.
So far, so good.
Very well. Agreed. Affirmative.
Still have
Very
the
well.
dog, and I have not
Yes,
yet
sir.
killed
Very
my
well.
own prisoners.
Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Very well. Agreed. Affirmative. Very well. Of course. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Agreed. Of course. Very well. Yes, sir. At once.
Let's take
At
these
once.
guys out first.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
And stealing the plants should heal him.
Acknowledged.
Yes.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Mission saved.
Reporting. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative.
So I can't go past here because there's a pillbox.
At once. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative. At once. Report agreed. At once.
So what I'm wondering is, do I need to turn on the meltdown thing before I save these guys? Because it should be possible somehow, right?
Mission saved.
Let's try it first without
Yes,
doing
sir.
it,
At once.
because I'm already here.
Agreed. Reporting. Reporting. Affirmative. Very well. Very well.
Unit
Nope.
lost.
Affirmative.
Mission loaded.
It's so nice that they don't give you any hints.
Yes. Ready and waiting. At once. Agreed. Affirmative. Very well. Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative. Of course. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Take that, you
At
nerd.
once. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Agreed. Affirmative. Reporting. Agreed. Very well.
Well, let's try taking out. Let's try stealing the tank before we save those guys.
Acknowledged. Agreed. Reporting. Very well. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. 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 Very well.
On the other hand, I need him to activate
Agreed.
whatever is up here.
Agreed.
Maybe it works now.
Mission saved.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Very well.
Either way, we need to kill some infantry.
Yes, sir. Of course. Reporting at once. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Reporting at once. Yes, sir. At once.
Unit
No.
lost. Mission loaded.
So yeah, let's deal with these
Yes,
guys.
sir. At once. Agreed. Yes, sir. At once. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Very well. At once.
This pillbox should be gone.
Very well. Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Agreed. Awaiting orders. Agreed. Report. Agreed. Agreed. Yes, sir. At once. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Very well.
40 minutes remaining.
All right.
Awaiting orders. At once.
Gonna keep the dog there,
Affirmative.
and then go steal the tank. Hopefully it works.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Actually,
Yes, sir.
that's a
Affirmative.
global heal box. Have him ready down there.
Mission saved.
And then wait for reinforcements.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Vehicle acknowledged.
And there's no
Acknowledged.
infantry in the way.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Comrade, acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Waiting order. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Let's get you all.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Oh, it didn't heal the
Yes,
tank.
sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
It's okay.
Awaiting orders.
Come here, doggo. Run, boy.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
No, 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 no.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
No! Oh!
Mission loaded. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Reporting. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Comrade,
It's a bad nuke.
acknowledged.
Okay, so let's wait for these guys to come up here. And heal that dog. Because I want to get these guys with the tanks.
Comrade, affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Well, I didn't.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
So useless.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Okay, hopefully you can get out before that new group of infantry spawns.
Yes, sir.
Did
Affirmative.
not, but I have the dog.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Good boy. Good boy.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Mission
Yes.
accomplished.
Finally. I didn't save those guys though. Hope you're happy, Stalin. Here's your crappy tank. So, hope you enjoyed this. Goodbye, and take care.